Hi, I'm Leeza. I'm an international transformation specialist, and today I want to talk about something that causes so much quiet suffering, and that's the myth of balance. Yes, balance. It sounds kind of odd, but listen to this. We are told that we can, and even that we should have it all, and all at once. That the perfect career, the perfect body, the perfect home, the perfect relationship, all of that is available to us all at the same time. But chasing perfect balance often leaves us feeling anything but balanced and anything but peaceful. So today I want to invite you into a new way of thinking, and one that's far more honest and humane and empowering to yourself and actually to others. So have you ever felt like no matter how much you do, it's never quite enough? Like you keep working and investing yourself in all these different areas, but something's always lagging behind? Have you ever wondered why, even when you manage to juggle it all, you still feel scattered or stretched thin or maybe even resentful because you're so overwhelmed? That's because balance, as we've been taught, as we've learned it, isn't the goal. And it's not even real. You can never balance everything perfectly, right? Even nature balances itself, but not all at the same time. It flows, it ebbs and it flows, just like water. Yeah. So today we'll talk about why you're not meant to do it all and how you can live aligned and not overloaded. So first let's start with clarity, right? And I'd like to expose, if you will, the false promise of having it all, right? There are books and movies, you can have it all. Balance often implies that we can distribute our energy evenly across every area of our life at every moment, like that it's this equal distribution, like a machine, like a uh, conveyor belt, right? All the pieces that go equally. It doesn't work that way. So if you imagine a healthy relationship, ultimately it's always a 50-50 investment, but not at the same time. Sometimes it's 70-30, sometimes it's 60-40. At times when it's stressful, it might even be 20-80, right? But in the end, when they're healthy, that balances out in the end as a 50-50, but not all at the same time, right? So clarity comes when we realize that our life, even our days, have seasons. There's seasons to focus, and there's seasons for growth, and for rest, and for tending, and for daring, and for slowing down, and for speeding up. There's different times for different things. So you're not failing if you can't give 100% to everything all the time. And if you think about it, that's often where burnout comes from. When we try to be everything to everybody at all time and never take space and never let anything take a moment and rest. I'm going to be over here for a minute. We don't give ourselves that opportunity. That's where burnout comes from. So it's important for you to remember that you're actually simply human, right? I mean, we are divine inspirations, but we're still in this physical form, which has its limitations. And when you honor the season you're in or the moment in your day, then you reclaim your clarity and you reclaim your sanity to a great extent, really. So let's talk about ownership, and that you have the right to choose, actually, the responsibility to choose what actually matters to you. So, true empowerment begins with ownership. You alone get to decide what's most important to you. And our society, our families, often schools or doctrines will tell us this should be important to you. But you alone get to decide, not your boss or your peers or even well meaning friends. They don't get to say what should matter to you. They may have their opinions, but ultimately you alone decide. So when you try to carry everything equally, you actually end up diluting your own energy, and you can often lose sight of your own purpose. I work with a lot of leaders, and they come into their professions clear and energized and knowing what they want to do and making impact. And with time, when they have that sense that they have to do it all and have that perfect balance, they not only lose energy, they lose sight of what their purpose is. They lose connection with themselves. So when you prioritize from your center, from what's important to you, you actually direct your power intentionally. And then your life begins to feel meaningful again. So something that I invite people to do is make what I call a love list. What that is it's a list of things that you really love and you value and you want in your life. It could be what you want to do, it could be who you want to be, it could be what you want to have or people you want to spend time with, places you want to go. What do you love? What's important to you? And let that be your guide as to what you value. So let's talk a minute about resolution, making peace with the consequences or the trade-offs. So when you don't try and juggle it all and keep it all equally and on a balanced level, and you don't get burned out, then you need to find a way to come to terms with that, right? Because if you can't do it all, something's going to take the back seat for a moment. So resolution doesn't come from doing more. It comes from accepting that every choice you make has a consequence. Yeah. So I used to say to the kids that when my children were small, you can say, call people names. You can do that, but it's kind of like picking up dog poop. You have to hold it in your hand first. And they'd say, ooh, that's gross. It's like, yes, it is. But everything has its consequences. If you drink 2 liters of water, you're going to have to get rid of the 2 liters of water. If you don't drink it all, you're going to have the consequences of how dry, how dehydrated you are and headaches you may have. Everything we do has consequences. So then it's a matter of what consequences or trade-off you want and you're willing to accept. And that takes a minute to think things through. So what's important is something I call self-studentship. It's when you make yourself the subject of your own study, that you are able to explain yourself to yourself, as one of my teachers said long ago, Bears Kaufman, that you can explain who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and where you're going at any point in time. That's self-studentship. So let's say that you have a job that's long hours and the pay isn't great, but you keep going to the job because it allows you to be at home, for example, in the mornings before your children go to school. Or it brings you an income that's going to allow you to get the next step in the home that you want to buy. So the consequence of keeping that job that has long hours and the pay isn't great is that maybe you don't feel as inspired at your work, but you're getting other things that you want, like being with your children or having that income. Or you quit that job and then you have that energy back and then you reprioritize what's important to you. So you can't do it all equally at the same time. It's just humanly not possible. But you can have a dance. You can dance those consequences, those trade-offs in a way that you feel fulfilled. So when you stop expecting yourself to be everything to everyone all the time, you actually free yourself up from that impossible standard and you energize yourself. You get to utilize that love list I talked about. You get to utilize the values you hold and the things that you cherish and live those in an intentional way. And perhaps today it's going to be focusing on work. And tomorrow it's going to be having a special date with someone who's important to you in your life. And the day after that, it's going to be your health care and taking care of your own well-being, right? But to do all of that at the same time, it's very difficult. And understanding it's a dance and there's no absolute static balance, that's living honestly and sustainably. So let's talk a minute about excellence and thriving in a focused alignment with what's important to you. So excellence isn't about being stretched across 1,000 things and then doing them all phenomenally well, which simply isn't possible. It's about focusing your energy where you feel most aligned, on the things that are important to you, and doing the things that maybe aren't as fun, but getting them done because they are important also, and then doing the fun things with intention and letting those grow. So again, I come to this dance. It's a flow, right? It's not a static balance. And you allow yourself in those different situations that you're focusing on to be fully present there. If it's on a relationship, if you're on a date night, then be fully on that date night. And when you are going to focus on a project or a work with a colleague, then bring your presence to that and don't be preoccupied elsewhere. So bringing your absolute best with your full presence and all of your skill set and your potential, that's excellence. So think about something you've done. Just take an example. Think about something you've done really well and that you're proud of. Just hold that in mind for a moment. And then think about, how did you show up? Most likely you were all in. You were focused and you were aligned, and it was like, oh, just great. I just came back from a facilitation this past week, and that's how I felt. It was challenging, but I was at the top of my game. I was committed and I was focused and I was present, and I came away feeling so good. And the people that were involved felt it from me. They were able to flourish as well. That's excellence when you're that present. So think of that situation that you've done that in, when you've shown up that way, and recognize that it wasn't 100% in all areas. It was 100% of yourself in that area. And when you choose to focus and not be frenzied, when you choose to have depth and really go deep and not stay on the surface, that's excellence, right? It's having intention over how you may appear, being uh, too focused on your presentation of how others think of you. And then you create results, and you create a life that you feel good about, that's not only successful, but is really deeply satisfying. That's success. So this week, I'd like to invite you to an action, to something you can practice so that you feel enriched by your life and you're not feeling stretched by having that static balance. And that is to ask yourself a question. What season am I in right now in my life? Or it could even be in the day, right? Is it time right now to build, or maybe to rest, or to heal, or to create, or to go into engagement, or to maybe to go inside and be quiet? And then choose one area to pour your intentionality in. Maybe it's relationship, a special relationship, or it's your health, or your profession, or your home. And then pick that one area and consciously release the pressure to balance everything else, and be present with that one area. Be present to what is right in front of you right now. Not perfection. That's not the goal. Presence to what you're dancing with and what you're choosing to invest in. That's what's going to bring you satisfaction. So if this message was helpful to you, if you feel you can breathe a little deeper, if it gave you permission to stop chasing a life that you maybe don't even want, to have all that stress of trying to be it all to everyone, then please like this video and subscribe for more, and share it with someone who's also ready to step out of that myth of a static balance. And if you're ready to live with clarity and ownership and resolution and excellence, you'll find more resources and programs linked in the description below. And remember, you are not meant to do it all. You're actually meant to do what matters most to you. That's what you get to do. I'm Leeza Steindorf. Be well.